your love, your career, and the next few moments and minutes that we're going to be going through will hopefully help you understand if you're in love, or if you're just still dating, or if you're so not in love and you're at the point in your life and your career where, you know what, it's time to be in love with your life and with your career. So how are you feeling about your current career? Yeah, just give that some thought. I know you're probably on this call because you may be feeling great about it and you're looking to maybe even feel better, or you may not be feeling happy at all and not in love. But give that some thought. How are you feeling about your career? Well, to jog your thought process, let's take a quiz. Let's see how well matched you are to your current situation. Are you passionate about what you do? Let's just kind of put a yes box, a no box, and a maybe box on your sheet of paper. Are you passionate about what you do? That means you feel strongly about the work you're doing. Have you taken and have you been able to take something that you're interested in very strongly, that you care about, and turn it into a career? Have you ever took the time to reflect and say, what do I love about what I do in my school life, in my volunteer life, in my home life, and am I able to apply that in my everyday career life, in my 40 hours a week that I go to work every single day? Is that a yes? Is that a no? Or is that a maybe? This is your time to be honest with yourself. Is work fun? Do you like, oh, I stand corrected. We're going to go to, do you like the people that you work with? Sorry about that, you guys. So let's go back to that, or start with that. Do you like the people you work with? Give that some thought. Do you look forward to going to work and working with the people that you are with every single day? Do you get along and respect your colleagues and your management? Do you enjoy teamwork? This is all a part, the people aspect of loving the people that you work with. Is now work fun? So now we can get to that one. Is work fun? Do you enjoy working the work that you do? Do the tasks come easy? Or are you just like kind of bah humbug, not thrilled about what you're doing? Does time fly? Does the first part of your day go really quick and can't believe your eyes that it's time to pack up for the day? Even though your day goes by quickly, are you slacking? Are you playing on the internet? Obviously, the first part means you love your job. The second part means not so much. This is interesting. Do you talk about your work to others? What does that mean? That means that when you're home, do you actually talk about your work and enjoy and share the events of the day that happen at your work, good, bad, or ugly? Do you want to tell people about what you do so maybe you can attract more business for your company? Are you an ambassador for the company that you work for? Good things to think about. The next one.
And just in the meantime, we got a response to the people question, because that's a huge thing. Whether you are enjoying those that you're working with, what your relationships are like with those people. And just to go back to that question that we breached about the people, you know, that's a huge thing, and we're going to definitely cover why it's so important to having a healthy career and to actually to getting hired and to sustaining a career and really interacting with employers in a positive way.
Absolutely. And just to kind of piggyback off to answer that question now, when you're looking at the people that you work with, I mentioned it before, we're with our individuals, our coworkers, almost 40 to 45 hours a week a day.
Yep.
Sometimes more than you're even at home. So aligning yourself, and we're going to kind of cover this in the next few slides, but aligning yourself with likable minds, innovative minds, and individuals that you can hang your pride with, if you will, is so important. And collaboration is becoming so more important in today's business world, that you want to make sure that you are with individuals that you can collaborate with, and if not, there are tools and opportunities for you to be able to do that. Okay? Very good. Okay, very good. So let's move on. Do you regularly go above and beyond your job description? Let's talk a little bit about that. Do you regularly go above and beyond your job description? So in essence, you go the extra mile. If you love your career, you're going to naturally go the extra mile. I mean, obviously, in the position that I'm in, I love my career, and Amanda loves hers, and sometimes we're, oh my gosh, it's 5:30, and we're doing an extra project just to be able to get the company where it needs to be, as well as to accomplish our goals. So do you think twice about staying late, helping with a task, or volunteering to something that's unexpected to you? Is it just how you just do your job? That's a sign and a good indication if you're in love with your career.
And why don't we take a quiz just to draw you guys back into this. Do you, for this specific question, do you regularly go above and beyond your job description? If you want to type us your answer, that'd be great, just so that we can get a feel for how you kind of are interacting with your current position. If you want to type it in, you can feel free to do that, and we'll report back a little bit later with your results.
Yep, and to Amanda's point, if you're looking at a no to at least 50% of the questions that we're going through, then I would say that you're not truly in love with your career, and we're going to help you with that today. If you're all the 7 questions that we have today and you are in love with your career, then there's ways to even enhance and nurture that relationship. Because when we're talking about loving your career, what's very important is in any good relation, it's about strong communication. It's about developing and nurturing that relationship. And that's no different when you think about your job. Your job is not stagnant. It's not just a place where you go to anymore, to and from. And that's really because the employment world has evolved to a higher plateau, and employers are really looking at employees at this level. They want to be in a relationship with their employees to be able to help grow themselves as well as the company. Okay? So that leads to your values. Do your values match up? We talk day in and day out at APA Solutions and Career Reform that aligning your core values with that of a company has become so important to the healthy nature of your well-being and the well-being of the company. Let's go back to that employer. That employer today is really working harder, smarter, and faster in order for them to stay in business. And they have to align themselves with individuals from top management to lower level with individuals that believe in their core value, that believe in the vision and the mission of their organization. That's why it's so important when you're looking and job seeking yourself is to first and find out, what do you value? What motivates you? And then seeing if in the interview process, and what we always call the dating process in this day of love, of making sure that in this dating process you are able to ask the right questions to make sure that your core values are in line and vice versa. So if you don't know your core values, obviously the tools that we're going to be describing at the end of this presentation will help you understand what motivates you. And then you can use that in your interview process, and then you can use that in your personal life and your career life. Okay, next slide. So back to Amanda and taking the quiz. How'd you do?
And I know a lot of this depends on the job. It depends on the people you're working with. So a lot of these are conditional questions. So it's really going to be up to you guys to kind of reflect on this question, how'd you do? If you have a job currently, reflect on your current experience. If you had a job previous to this and maybe you were downsized or maybe you voluntarily left, really reflect on that past job. We're all about today, we're learning what we love, and we need to go back and really be true to ourselves and true to our own needs, because the most important thing is to be honest with yourself when you're looking for a job, and that honesty is really picked up by employers, and that's what they're looking for today. And Jean will get more into that connection piece in the next couple of slides, but it's important to point out.
It does, and I think it does go right into the next slide, Amanda. When you're looking at why these factors are so important, we at APA and Career Reform, we listen to the employers day in and day out, and we have represented companies in every single industry, and that can be in industrial, manufacturing, construction, and service-based companies. We fill entry-level positions to executive-level positions. So we're hearing those employers' desires, who is their perfect candidate. And these, what we just described, your values, being passionate about what you do, really going over and beyond the call of duty because you want to, not because you have to, are factors that are so important to the health of that organization and the relationship going into it. Obviously, it's so important for you, too, because of your health and your well-being. But when employers today trying to make business happen, they're really looking at their internal customers, their current employees, as well as their external job seekers in a completely different way. And that way is that ownership mentality. They're really looking for that individual, that employee, to take ownership. And the whole purpose of us doing this presentation is to have you individually take that time to figure out, do you own your job? Do you love your job? They go hand in hand. And having this self-reflection, as Amanda alluded to, will allow you to really get closer to saying, am I in a good match, or if you're looking for that right match. So it's also the key to what employers are looking for in a new hire. So let's reflect on that. I just shared with you that employers are looking for individuals who take ownership of their background. So in the new hire process, so even if you're in a job or looking for a job, you are going to be a part of what is called a selection process. The selection process, what we like to call here at Career Reform and our sister company, is called the dating process. So it kind of ties in nicely with this whole love theme. When you're looking at a new hire, these are some specific things that we like to highlight before I go into the dating process, which is the next slide, Amanda. Employers know the whole person needs to come to work each and every day. So now in the selection process, in the hiring process, the employer is looking at the whole person. And that whole person, so if I was to ask you guys to draw a big circle on your pad of paper, okay? And in that circle of your pad of paper, we're going to do pies. If you remember Trivial Pursuit, you remember those pies that go in that circle the pies that go in the circle, is that whole person coming to work is, when I say you own a business, it's like that HR, okay? And each pie, we're going to say HR, sales and marketing, operations, finance, and technology. Okay, so that's our whole pie. Now that's a whole company, correct? If you would agree with me, that's a whole company. In order for that company to be successful, you need to have all those departments working together. So now let's flip it on you guys. You incorporated your business. You're a whole person coming to work. And in that whole person coming to work, the most important aspect of that is being able to be passionate about what you do, being in alignment of what that company is doing, and then you taking the initiative to take the step to find out what those goals are for that company to make sure that you're working towards it. So it's that initiative, it's taking that next extra mile. So number two, and I'll go back to the pie throughout this whole presentation. Employers know that every employee impacts customer service sales regardless of their position. So they're thinking about that in the selection process. They're thinking about, if I hire you, you're going to totally impact not only my outside sales, but also you're going to totally impact the culture of my company. So that's why when you're looking at that dating process, they're really taking their time to make sure that they're hiring right, because one bad hire not only costs them monetary money and a loss to them, but it also has an emotional effect to the internal customers and low productivity, less employee engagement if this person's not a good fit within the company.
Right. And I mean, just you guys have probably all experienced this at one point or another. I mean, you have a great coworker and then they leave to go someplace else. And it's a huge hit for a team as a whole. I mean, employee morale goes down. You're, picking up the extra workload. There's just a lot more stress and tension on a team. So employers these days, as they're becoming leaner and meaner in this new economy where they have to save their pennies and they have to do business right, this is becoming an increasing factor for them. And, there's new industries arising just specifically from this. It's human capital. And they're actually analyzing the output of each employee, but also that emotional, that behavioral factor. and we're going to get more into how they measure that later in the presentation.
Yeah, and absolutely, and I'll connect that between the behaviors and the values and the pie that we're talking about that I had you guys draw on your empty sheets of paper. Employees need individuals who want, and hold on here, employers need individuals who want and like to be at work. So that's, I think, very self-explanatory. They don't want to hire bodies anymore. We see this at even the low-level manufacturing line levels. I don't want to say low-level, but the line level. Right now, one of the projects that APA Informed Career Reform, that when you're looking at, let's say, second shift winder position or second shift general labor position, back in the day, they hired you and they let you start, tried you out, had the time to train you, and then life was great. Today, they are making general labor candidates go through the same rigorous process as a CEO of a company. They want someone who's passionate about being a general laborer. They want someone who's passionate about being mechanically inclined. They want someone who's passionate about doing math and reading blueprints. And if you're saying, oh, yeah, I can do all that, but you're not really applying it and giving examples of how you've done that in your past because your goal is just to get a job, I'm telling you, they sniff that right out. So they're looking for those individuals who've made strategic, committed moves in their background to show that they truly believe in what they do and what they want to do.
And if you don't feel like, with our quiz that we've given you, or what Jean just said, like if you don't have examples of how you've been passionate in the past, that's okay. We're not saying that everyone needs to have those examples at this point in their past, but as you move forward and you work to positively impact your future career, it's something you want to look for, and we're going to teach you how to look for that career and help you kind of guide you towards that transition, because it really is a process. And it starts first with this self-reflection that we're hoping to give you today.
Absolutely, and in that self-reflection, and Amanda, I think they have those. They just need to be aware of it.
Right.
Okay. If they look at their background and say, oh my God, I do like working on a farm with mechanics, and you're right. So it's really pulling it out, using the session to take the time to go back to what do I love that I did, and then applying it to whatever job that they're looking to secure, as long as it's related to the job description.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly, Jean.
Employers are increasingly utilizing a number of behavioral-based assessments tools to determine the right career match. Let's go back to what I said in my introduction. As a certified behavioral analyst, I call myself the eHarmony of the employment world. The behavioral assessments that are being used today really have been, I guess you could say, expanded upon. Assessments, as well as, I want to say, like, there's behavioral assessments, there's personality assessments, there's just really good tools that employers use with current employees to help them play nice in the sandbox. So it's helping the current employees to really understand each other, to really play, to help the organizational goals, because we're working in a team. Now what has happened with these behavioral assessments is that they're realizing, our distributorship as well as our company, realize that you can use this instrument in the job matching role, just like eHarmony. Actually, some of the assessment that we use was actually used in the eHarmony build-out of aligning people's behaviors to that of a matched-like behavior to ensure a great match is happening. So we are able to now utilize this for our employers. They come to us and say, okay, we have an open position. We want to hire somebody. These are the behaviors and the values and the skills and the responsibilities that are needed for this role. Then they have the talent take it to make sure they are closely matched with that. So they are using behavioral tools to do this. And I see that Amanda's typing away. Yep. You must have had a great question or comment.
Well, we actually, we had somebody that just wanted to review the pie chart that you were talking about. Since we do not have a slide specifically on that pie chart, I have just typed to the entire audience what those slices mean.
Perfect.
And what the names of them are, so that you can make your own pie chart at home.
Okay. So really it leads into our next slide then of how employers are finding the best candidates for the job. When how do they do that? How are they finding it? In order for an employer to be successful in finding the best candidate, they have a process. So it's no different for a job seeker to also have a process. So the process for a job seeker, and I would like to go to the next slide to make sure that I'm tying things up at the same time. They'll have an interview process and specific questions that they were going to ask you in the dating process. Let's go back to the behavioral assessment. If you recall, I had mentioned that employers are now really spending some time and saying, okay, what are the behaviors for this role? What are the values for this role? What are the experiences and the skills and the education we need for this role? Then they take that information and they actually have experts that will line up specific questions as it relates to the position they're looking to fill. So when you look at the questions that seem familiar, which is how would you handle this situation? Tell me about a time when. Rate the following of importance. So these are what we would call behavioral-based questions because they're looking for that whole person coming to work. Your experience and skills are still very important, but I will tell you what's resonating more and more is those soft skills. Wouldn't you say, Amanda?
Absolutely. And this is just, a lot of people don't know how to answer these behavioral questions. These are the tricky ones that they use to really find those top candidates, because they're looking for you to be able to back it up with past experience, with past, knowledge. So before you get into the interview, it's really important that you take the time and really look back and say, what are the examples of when I've excelled, when I've solved a problem, when I've struggled with something and I've come back from that. And even the rate the following in the order of importance, that's where your values are coming in. So that goes right back to our quiz where, what's important to you, and does that match with what's important to the employer? Because that's really where happiness is going to come from, is when you're both on the same page on, what's most important, what matters, and how do you operate.
Mm-hmm. So it transcends to they're taking the scientific tool that is commonly used in workshops to help people work together, and they're taking a scientific tool, you can go to the next slide, and using it as an instrument to help better make good decisions in their selection process or in their dating process. So some of the tools that are used by employers in the selection process is the Big Five. We have the Myers-Briggs, the DISC, in which what we use, but our DISC is actually from a distributor called Target Training International. I think it's very important to highlight that because it's not a one-dimensional, one piece of profile. We have other profiles that complement it, which is that values piece. And then there's also the Predictive Index. I'm going to mention some others that are not on the slide. There's the Kolbe. There's the Caliper. So the Big Five, Myers-Briggs, the DISC, the Caliper, a Kolbe. And these are all mainstream now. Before, back in the day, the individuals, the employers that use these type of assessments in the selection process were pretty much reserved to CEOs of the company, to high-level officials of the company, or individuals that are managing big teams. Now it's become so mainstream that small, medium, and large companies are actually have access to these tools to be able to help them hire right. And then obviously they use it completely in the training and the development of helping that person get to the next level. Or maybe they want to hire Amanda. I'll use her an example. Maybe we want to hire Amanda, and she has this, this, and this, but she's lacking this. But at least now when we hire her, we know where we're going to be able to train her to. So that's how employers are actually using the scientific method to be able to make the right selection. Let's go to the next slide.
Yep, and also if we could do a show of hands, that would probably help us. So if you want to click the little hand button, if you've ever taken one of those tests. So if they've asked you some questions before you probably even got into the interview, have any of you guys experienced that? So I'll give you guys 1 minute here. Okay, so let's see who's coming in. Yeah, so we definitely got a good number of people on the call today that have experienced some sort of behavioral assessment as part of the hiring process.
And I would like to know even further, of the people who have taken the assessment, has it been in the hiring process or has it been in a team building workshop scenario? Let's kind of check that out.
If you could just type that into the chat window,
that would
be helpful to us.
And while you guys are doing that, at Career Reform, we, probably about 7 years ago, when we were trying to determine the type of assessment that would be best utilized to help in this self-reflection phase, which I like to call in the human resource phase of You Incorporated, of really, the process starts with you. So the first part of that process is, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you love? What am I good at? Having that time to really reflect in each job that you had, where you shined, where you had that fire in your belly, will allow you to get to your happy day again, or to continue on your happy day if you're currently there and recognizing, oh my God, I do love it. When I was preparing for this presentation, I went through and did the quiz myself. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in love with my job. It's confirmed that I love my job. And if it was maybe a day that I was like, oh, not so much, maybe it was just I was having a bad day. So don't confuse having a bad day with not loving your job.
Right.
Okay. What do we got?
We've got some questions coming in here, so I want to make sure that we get to everybody's question. We have a question from Diana. How can we take these behavioral tests prior to interviewing/hiring so that we can look for a career match? In other words, a career that fits our skills.
Okay. Diane, so I understand that you have taken an assessment and you want to know how you can use this assessment now in your interview process and aligning your skills.
Actually, I don't believe she's taken it. She says, how can we take the behavioral test?
Oh, thank you, Diane. Well, there's obviously with Career Reform, we arm you with the scientific measures to be able to get your answers. Actually, you can go to the next slide. And then the next slide. Okay. We fast forward for Diane's purposes. So with the behavioral assessment that we have, the Internet is your pride and joy. You want to be able to utilize the Internet to do as much research for you and on these assessments. But we do career appraisals. The career appraisals really helps you understand your behaviors plus your values equals 93% job satisfaction. For this person, 93% of love. Okay, that's 7%. I'm going to go on a limb here for those bad days, because no one lives in a perfect world. So when you're looking at, once you take the assessment, to kind of give you a backstory, you are actually taking it online, you're having 30 minutes of alone time, and you're really focused on you. And they're going to ask you a series of questions. It's from craziness to general questions. And you're just ranking them as they are true to you. Once you get the results, it is a robust readout to help you understand your general characteristics, and then from there it truly helps you understand the value you bring to an organization. It gives you your strengths based on your behaviors. So many times someone will say, what are your strengths? And then we hear, I love people. That is such a canned answer, because a lot of times there's different ways of understanding what love of people is. So maybe you're service-oriented. Maybe you know how to collaborate based on your behavioral style stronger than someone who doesn't. So it really will help you understand what your behaviors are. You will understand how to understand the assessment in itself. The DISC assessment from Target Training International is really easy. 7 years ago, when we utilized a multitude of different assessments, sometimes you had to have like a PhD decipher it for you, or you had to have a 3-day workshop to decipher it for you. The assessment, the career appraisal, allows you to see yourself in a quick snapshot. You can understand the DISC language very easily, and then you're able to apply it in your professional and then your career life. The skills that come from that assessment, automatically you'll be able to start pulling information from the assessment and apply it in your resume, and then apply it in your story that accentuates the roles. Now it goes even further. There are occupations that are lined up that are best suited for your specific behavioral style from A to Z and from educational level. So how you take the assessment is really going to careerreform.com and going to the career appraisal section of our products page to be able to kind of access that information. Now let's go back to, and Diane, did I answer your question?
Yeah, Diana had a follow-up question. Which test is best to take online? I would say that, we might be a little partial to our own career appraisal just because, we really do think it helps people to find a career, especially when they're job searching, that's going to be best aligned to their values, to their behaviors, to who they are as a person and make that connection with employers. We think that's the best way to find a career you love. The DISC is online. I think a few of them.
Well, to piggyback off this, and this is not really our opinion, it's really the candidates who walked before you's opinion. There are assessments that you can go on Monster, and it's like a quick, boom, answer a few questions. It's free, and it can take you to a certain point. But what we always often hear is like, well, it told me to be a farmer. I don't get it. I don't want to be a farmer. It told me to be an administrative assistant. After I took all these questions, it told me to be an administrative assistant, and that's not what I want to do. So what I fear the most when individuals take online assessments without a backup coach, without someone helping decipher it or helping guide you to the hot occupations that are today, you may get lost and you may get discouraged. So when you look at the behavioral assessment that we offer the black and white that you can read, information to go with it, but the career appraisal of what we do, you actually get a one-on-one session with an expert or career reformist to help you align your background with the assessment, with hot occupations, or where you need to go. Does that make sense to you? So you can really look on the online ones. They'll give you enough information, but at the end of the day, it's still up to you to continue the research of what makes it best for you. So Diane, just kind of let me know if I helped you with that. But just Monster has them, Career Builder has them, and then you can just Google personality assessments. They range anywhere from $19.99 for a quick readout, or they go as robust as $250. So it really depends on what your budget is and how much information you want to invest from your time, or if you want someone to help you along on the journey. Okay? So we already quickly introduced the career appraisal. To feed off the career appraisal that we have in-house is when you look at the DISC, if you move in this fashion, it helps you understand what your natural and your adaptive style is. It helps you understand your value system. It also provides you information on how to best communicate and enhance your communication and your awareness of other behavioral styles. And I think that's critical here because we're arming you, or this career appraisal arms you with the same assessment that majority of the employers are using in the selection process. So the Myers-Briggs, not so much. They don't use that too much in the selection process that I've seen in my expertise. The Big Five I do see, but it's a very elongated, almost like a 2-hour assessment that you have to do online, where employers that we see in our circle of influence, and even people that are not in our circle of influence, because we go to a lot of seminars, like we go to the INC conference, and they highlight for us too that they're using the DISC behavioral assessment along with others. So it also helps you with the ideal work environment that's best suited for you in your behavioral style. So I always like to point this out to individuals when I'm coaching them, that this ideal environment is critical in looking for your next position, or if you're working, are you working in your ideal environment? And if not, how can you encourage or make it happen for yourself? Maybe you need to be repositioned. Maybe you need to go for that promotion. Maybe you need to look for a transfer. Maybe you need to go into a different department. You know, these are all things that we just encourage you to think about. And then how to leverage this knowledge as a career job search tool. So how do you leverage it? Research. That's how you leverage it first and foremost. When you take this tool, it gives you a multitude of different types of occupations that are best suited for you. Then we also defer you to a website that allows you to continue your research on what does that job really do? What are the key characteristics and the skills that are needed for that role, so you can say, do I need to get additional training? Do I already have the skills? And then take it from there. So when we break it down, we use the career assessment to help build out your resume. We help it better understand you and others. We use it to help you tell your story, help you interview, because these behavioral-based questions are coming from behavioral-based assessments. And then from there, it helps you take the power back to make sure you're making the right selection.
I have a question from one of the audience members here, Jean.
Sure.
When they're reading a job description, should they take everything at face value? Like if it says fast-paced environment, should they, should they always kind of reflect on that? And I guess what is your recommendation on the face value?
When a company posts a job description, that is their perfect woman, if you will. That is their ideal candidate that they're looking for. What I would advise that you do is you take a ruler to that job description, and anything that you do have that matches that job description, you want to make sure you're aligning with in your resume. Now, if they're saying it's a fast-paced environment, that is perception. Everyone's definition of fast-paced environment is completely different. A fast-paced environment in a First Niagara Bank is completely different than a fast-paced environment in a small company like Career Reform. So you really have to make that determination what fast-paced means to you. Now, if you're in an interview and you understand that, it's highlighting fast-paced environment, the best way to ask to get this strong cultural norm of that company is just asking the interview when they say, do you have any questions? And then you could say, Amanda, how do you like working here? What are your challenges? What made you come to XYZ company? And then listen very intently what she's sharing with you to see if you can see yourself in her shoes as well. Did I answer your question?
I think it's answered. We can, have any other questions at this time too. If you want to type into us, you guys have been doing a great job at interacting. Let's just see if we had any other questions you want to do.
Yep, one question that we have coming across is, I keep getting downsized. I loved what I did, but I keep getting downsized. Why is this happening? There's a couple ways I'm going to answer this question. The first way, we have to remember that the employment landscape has changed. You are probably going to be downsized or moved from your position about 5.7 times in your career. It could even be more now, but the most recent statistics we read and researched was about 5.7 times. Companies today, I love saying this, I'm going to say it again, are working harder, smarter, and faster just to stay in business. They're trying to really, you have mergers, you have acquisitions, you have companies just all of a sudden closing. That has never happened before in our parents' day. So you have to stay and reflect and say, did I lose or get downsized based on business dynamics? Or did I get downsized based on my behaviors? Okay, so those are two different scenarios. You may be getting downsized. The companies have to make business decisions because you know what? They have to let people go to save on costs or what have you, or for whatever reasons. That's not your fault. That's the new norm. So it's important for you, if we focus on that one, to make sure that if you choose a job, that the next job you choose enhances your background. So if you do get downsized, you still have a good story and you're continuing your involvement for the next company that you're going to help. Okay? So making sure that you're making good strategic business decisions in the companies that you choose. A lot of times people who get downsized, they knew exactly what was happening. They knew that the padlock was going to be put on the door, but because of natural human behavior of not being able to handle change or want change or being put on the unemployment line causes them to ride it out. And then they're downsized, and then they're wondering how they got there. So we always encourage taking ownership of your background will have you stay tuned to the proactive behavior you can have so you're not in a downsized position, because you're always more marketable when you have a job. Now let's go back to the behaviors.
Oh, we actually have a comment by one of the members of the audience here. He's been downsized 6 times, and it's because of the company. Do you have any advice or any comment in regards to that?
Well, a couple things. I need a little bit more information. So this is going to be a very general comment that I'm going to make. So if an individual is being down 6 times, I have to better understand the industry you're coming from. For example, if you're in the automotive industry and you continue to hang your shingle when the automotive industry was going through their turmoil because it was more money, because they had great benefits, because of those things that you kept finding yourself laid off or downsized, then I would have to say that you're not making a very good business decision on the partner you're choosing. So we really have to look at the industry that you're going into. Then from there, we also have to look at the position and the company and the culture that you're aligning yourself with. So if it was because of the company and they had to make an economic decision, then you have to look at the industry. If you're there for 2 weeks, if you're there for a month, if you're not making the guarantee period, then I'd have to have a little bit more of a serious conversation with you and saying, what's going on here? Are you not in the right role? Are you not making the connection? What type of additional training do you need to help yourself be proactive so you're not put into this type of situation? Was there another comment on that, Amanda?
There was just a clarification. So it was over the course of 25 years, and it was in the computer industry, just to give you a little bit more information.
Oh, excellent point. 25 years, 6 times, so you're at your max. So hopefully the next job that you do acquire, you'll be good to go. But the technology industry, although hot, although growing, is also changing. So it doesn't surprise me that you may have been moved or downsized from your job 6 times. Now it's a matter of what have you built because of that fact. So with the roles that you've taken, have you enhanced your background? With the roles that you've taken, are you able to tell your story that, I've learned this from this experience? And then from there, 9 times out of 10, if you're coming from an industry that is experiencing some economic downturns or upturns, the employer on the other side of the table is going to understand that. But what they're not going to understand is if it's been because I didn't like my boss, if it's because of this. If there's strategic reasons why you got downsized, it's going to make sense to the employer.
Right, and every employer, as whether they're the owner of a business and it's a smaller company or whether they're a manager, they understand that businesses, like people, things happen, and there's challenges arise, and companies close down, they merge, exactly what Jean was just saying.
So the employer is looking how you handle yourself in that adverse condition.
Right.
They want to see if you have bounce back material, if you understand the dynamics of today's new normal economy and how you react to today's new normal economy.
Yeah. And
very good.
They're going to understand the evolution of technology and the evolution of change in business. So, I mean, as long as you can put a story together that explains those transitions, they're going to absolutely understand it. And you can say, I gathered this new skill because of this transition, and I'm building upon that in my career. So, yeah.
I like to give, if there's not another question coming along, I like to give another example of an individual that also was downsized, and he was in manufacturing, he was a mechanical engineer, and he loved what he did, and he aligned himself with small businesses, growing manufacturing companies, and he went in as a mechanical engineer, and he was more on like the design, the project management aspect of that specific position, and he too kept getting downsized. One of the positions that he got downsized from, luckily enough, was with a client of ours, and the owner of the company said, we love him, but we really need to make some changes in our organization. Can you have him go through our outplacement program? So we put this gentleman into our outplacement program, and once he took the behavioral assessment, it became very clear why he was not successful in the roles that he was in. Meaning that he had an issue with control, okay, so he was very controlling. He couldn't let go of his projects and collaborate with his partners, but more importantly, he really, although an engineer of that analytical mind, he also had a very vivacious personality. And through the assessment, it was resonated with him that, maybe I need to be an applications engineer or a sales engineer where I can use my technical, I can have more control of my destiny, because he had that control issue, and I'm able to use my technical expertise but really relate more one-on-one with a customer than not. So through the journey of being downsized quite a bit in his young career adult life to now being at a company for now going on about 2 to 3 years, he's in the right role. What I always like to say, and we're going to show a wheel that we have in our career appraisal, there's a place for everybody in this workplace. And when you're looking at what that place is, many times people take a new role because it was the thing to do, because it was more money, because society says you need that new role, you need to become a management, but at the end of the day, it may not be the best position for you based on your natural tendencies, based on who you are as a person. And what's so exciting about this is that we have these tools to help people guide themselves. I'm going to assume that we're on this call today because you didn't wake up, or when you were 5 years old, you didn't say I wanted to be an attorney. You didn't want to say I was going to be Taylor Swift, I'm ready to rock and roll and I'm going to start singing. unfortunate is 90% of our workforce that doesn't have that initial, this is what I want to be. There was never a roadmap to help those people. You know, when you become a doctor or a lawyer, there's a specific curriculum you need to follow to reach your goal. But when you're becoming a project manager, there's not a specific curriculum. When you want to be a certain administrative assistant or IT consultant or a website designer, they're not saying, okay, this is what you need to do in order to get there. That's why we encourage the individuals to take the power back and say, you have to develop your plan and utilize the tools to help build out that plan. How am I going to go to point A to point B to find and nurture the career that I love? Now, I'll use my example. You know, I fell into retail, got my degree in retail, did a great job in retail, worked the highest level because I was supposed to get that promotion because you make more money. But when I got to the highest level, I crashed and burned because I didn't have the right behavioral tendencies to survive at that highest level. Now, I was doing it, but to what cost to my health? I was doing it to what cost to my happiness. So it wasn't until that I was able to really self-reflect and say, okay, what is going to be the best job for me? Where do I want to go? I loved human resources aspect of running a retail store. So then when I did my career journal of what do I love about what I did, what I didn't love about what I did, I was able to develop that career pathway to the baby steps I needed to get to where I am today. So yes, I had to take a step back and be a human resource assistant to get to the level of career that I am today. So when you look at the Success Insight Wheel, obviously not being a whole nother show of what the DISC means, but I like to show this because this is a nice wheel. Let's say that's a company, okay? And then the D, the I, the S, and the C are the dimensions of the behavioral styles. But if we were to look at this, and now if I was to just a line right down the middle from implementer to relator, this is what I like to call where the S and the C, I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. The C and the S, that is what I call the back of the house, okay, of a company. And then the D and the I is what I call the front of the house of a company, okay? Now, you guys won't know where you're individually plotted quite yet, but when you look at all of those specific sections, and we're going to start where it says supporter, okay? Once you identify what your behavioral style is, you'll be able to know where you fit in a company. So a supporter person is an individual that is a true blue customer service. I love to support and be the number 2 guy and help the company get to that next level, okay? So someone maybe who works at a Geico or someone that really likes that customer service realm. The closer you get to that I realm, okay, that's where you're wanting to be supporting the front of the house, okay? So those would be the sales and marketing people. You may be the assistant or the sales assistant. And when you're in the promoter realm, you could be in real estate, selling real estate. You could be, what I mentioned before, sales and marketing and art director, using your eye and using your creativity. And as we go up to the D, this is when we're getting into management level, or maybe you're a house appraiser. You need that level and significant in your behavior to handle those everyday tasks of being a manager. And then we're going to just go to the implement real quick. These are individuals that are COOs of companies or chief operating officer or chief executive officer. And we get closer to the C, these are your accountants, your engineers, your CNC machine, your IT people. And then the coordinator are the people who are supporting them. So your accounts payable, accounts receivable, you know, and obviously I'm just using general titles. Trust me, when you get a report, it's very robust of where the occupations fit within each category. So when I say there's a place for everybody in the workplace, I truly look at that one side and saying, these are my back of the house. I love to stay behind the scenes. I do love people. I like people, but maybe I don't need to be in the forefront of people. I want to be in the back of the house. And then obviously the people who love to be in the front because they're charismatic, they're influential, they're determined, they want to be in the front. So when we would hire a receptionist, they need to be in the front of the house, and if they have behavioral tendencies where they like to be analytical and detailed-oriented and really not want to be in the forefront, maybe they're a little shy or they don't trust people as readily as someone who has high trust, they would not be the right role for that receptionist position. I know there was a lot of information that I just covered, so questions. Raise your hand. Let me know if I can help you out.
Okay, so this is really your time. We want to make sure that if you have any questions on any topic related to careers, related to job search, and, Jean is a great expert and a great resource on our team, and we want to extend her expertise to you guys this morning. So, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. I can unmute you, or you can chat box us, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Okay, I got one question here. How do I get started? So let's just flip it to the next slide, and we can always take questions even though we're not on the question slide any longer. So if you want to raise your hand, or we got some other questions here as well. So we'll save that one for a minute. Okay, so we have a question, let's see, from Andrew here. If I have a passion for helping people, not afraid to talk to strangers and make new relationships, and believe I have compassion and empathy for people, I believe I would be looking in the S section, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
You are correct. So S in the DISC behavioral world, it stands for steadiness. And individuals who are a very good behavioral S, so 100% S to 50% S, these individuals are natural, harmonious individuals. They're natural givers. They're steady. They're patient. They're kind. They're empathetic. So you're right, Andrew, in the sense of when you align yourself with the right role, you have to find yourself with a company that also believes in people. So you could be looking at a nonprofit, you could be looking at a for-profit, but they're really dealing with people and helping those individuals get to that next level. So depending on your skill set, you can be in customer service, you can be an administrative professional, you can even be an IT guru in an organization that allows you understanding the vision and mission of that company as long as they're helping people. Great question, Andrew.
We have another question here. Do you think a functional/skills resume is the best in this economy as opposed to a historical task-based resume?
Very great question. Here's how I'm going to answer that. Resumes today have to be a brand of you incorporated, okay? No longer is it a day where it's a chronological event of what you've done. However, you need to have dates on that resume. So don't try to avoid conversations by not putting dates on it. We need to see, employers I should say, need to see the involvement of your career and how it started and where it has ended. So when you're talking about functional or chronological or task-based, what has been very successful from a resume standpoint is you start off branding yourself. Who are you? So it's about not only what you've done, but what you want to do and what you can do and how it relates to the position you're applying to. So yes, every resume now is customized to the role. Hopefully if you have a good template of a resume, you're only making tweaks based on the position, but it should really follow a format like this. So get your pen ready. You should either have an objective or a profile. An objective helps the reader tell you what you're looking to do. Very important to people who are making a transition. So back to workforce mom, seeking to utilize experience in medical industry. After a long tenure of a professional teaching career, looking to transition skills into private sector. The profile really kind of just does a general overview of the skills and who you are generally. Then it should follow a summary of qualifications. These summary of qualifications are very critical because it's the first snapshot that an employer sees that they're looking for as it relates to the role that they're looking to fill. So as long as it's true, you really want to make sure that summary of qualifications speaks your truth and aligned with the position. Then the body of the resume is really talking about your story and how it relates to not only you as a person, but the position. So I had a session yesterday with an individual. She had a bullet point resume of the task that she did at a financial consulting firm. Never in her story did she say that she got promoted within a year of being there. That's what an employer is looking for. They want to know somehow in that story how you made the difference, what you contribute to that team, along with the tactical things that you've done. And then obviously following that format, you have your experiences, you have your education, and then any other critical skills that are needed for that specific role. So I know I talked fast. I try to get all the elements there, but I hope that I answered your question.
We just have one final question, and it's actually about what the content is of this slide. So we have two promos going on. We have our DISC career appraisal, which we discussed in this webinar, and then we also have our online course offer that includes the DISC. So the DISC career appraisal, like Jean said, comes with a one-on-one counseling session after you take the online assessment, the two-parter. You know, it could be with Jean, it could be with one of our other career reform team members, and we'll go over, and it's kind of an interactive coaching session. The online course is our, our newest addition to our products and services. We've actually taken all of our knowledge, if you would believe it, and wrote it down and put it into video formats and with pictures. We've got quizzes on there, and it covers the employer thought process from A to Z. So we want you to know, and we went into the employer thought process on this talk, but this goes way and above and beyond.
It's very robust. So when you say, where do I start and how do I execute the process, the online boot camp really handholds yourself in that process, but don't forget, this is a self-ownership process. So you own it, and we are here as your coach and your guideline to help you through the process. The boot camp is what I like to call is like the Weight Watchers of the employment world, okay? So in order for you to lose weight, you have to be in a process. You have to join a group. You have to have that support system. So the online course boot camp puts you in the career community family and gives you that support every step of the way to help you help yourself get your career to that next level. Be it if you're a redefiner, which means, you know what, I love my job, I'm looking to get a promotion, or I'm looking to do this somewhere else in a company, or if you're looking to reinvent yourself completely, or if you're a rethinker, a young adult just graduating, or an adult graduating from school, thinking about all the different possibilities that you have out there that isn't just doctor, lawyer, priest, attorney, I said that already, but fireman, the common professions that you see out there. When, Amanda, when you research the most IT jobs that are out there, what are the statistics now? They're like 225 different types of IT roles.
Yeah, I mean, it's evolving every day, and we always tell people as just kind of another good tip to have here. I mean, even if you are that person that's grown up and had that career in the traditional way, technology is evolving. So even if you're a receptionist that isn't so computer friendly, it's really important as you're job searching to go out there and get the skills, because it's becoming very common no matter whether you're a machinist and you need to go to CNC and you need to use all the higher technical skills to be out there and to be competitive. So we just encourage you to really look and to research the industry standards, what's on those job descriptions, and really to constantly be improving yourself.
So to follow up and to conclude, as people are typing maybe additional questions, is love your career. We have to spend almost every waking moment at our office at times. You want to love what you do and do what you love, and it can happen today. Or maybe 5, 10, 11 years ago, you didn't feel like you could love your career because you needed to get a job, support your family, pay your bills. But now with the tools that are out there, you can definitely plan your attack and plan to get to the career that you love. Because it's important today. As we said, employers are looking for candidates who love their life, their career, and help them move their business forward.
Well, thank you, and thank you to Jean for being our expert
You're
on today's
welcome.
call. We hope you enjoyed it, and please feel free to contact us at careerreform.com. You can email us at info@careerreform.com if you ever have any questions. Also, our phone number is 716-626-0070 if you want to call us.
And you know what, I have to add this too, because this is a lot of information, but if you like us on Facebook at Career Reform's Facebook page, we continue to post great articles and information to help you along your career journey, and that's the community that we want people to go to get information or to share some tips themselves about their success. How do they get to where they are? And we like to use that platform. So please like us on Career Reform to get more information.
Yep, and we have a lot of free events coming up too. If you want to join us for our webinars, we're going to be trying to do this more often on different subjects, so we'd love to have you.
Absolutely. We're here for you. Have a great day.